In April of 1996, the NBA Board of Governors announced the WNBA. They decided the league's season would be in the summer, while other major sports are less active, and getting a television deal would be a lot easier. This would technically be the third professional women's basketball league, but it was the only one with backing from something as big as the NBA. The original rules were largely based on the NBA's with some slight variations. The games consisted of two 20-minute halves where a jump ball took place at the beginning of each half. The shot clock was originally 30 seconds. Players were allowed 6 fouls before fouling out. They've always used a smaller circumference ball than the NBA. The size 6 ball that's 28.5 inches in diameter and 20 ounces in weight. In the beginning, each team played 36 regular season games, 18 at home and 18 on the road. During the playoffs, the WNBA teams carry the standard 12-player rosters as they do during the regular season. Teams cannot trade players after the trade deadline on August 20th, but can sign players to 7-day contracts, rest of season contracts, or hardship contracts up to the beginning of the playoffs. Even in the beginning, the WNBA had a 12-player roster. Okay, so let's talk WNBA schedule. Usually teams can start talking to free agents on January 21st, but nothing can be officially signed until February 1st. Now these dates may vary, but that's usually where free agency lands for the WNBA. The WNBA Collegiate Draft is usually held in April. Over the years, the season is usually in operation from May to September. In 2024, the season started May 14th and it's going to end September 19th. From there you have the playoffs, which start at the end of September. A champion will be crowned, usually by October 20th. From then to next year's free agency, it's the off-season. More recently, the Commissioner's Cup has been added to the WNBA season. Throughout the regular season, they play Commissioner Cup games. Based on those games, a tournament is in place for the Commissioner's Cup. In 2024, the Commissioner's Cup Championship was played June 25th. Any years with the Olympics, FIBA World Championships, the league will take a month-long break. During the 2024 regular season, the league took a month-long break for the 2024 Paris Olympics. In 2002, the WNBA started their own draft lottery. The teams who missed the playoffs the previous year participate in a lottery process to determine the draft order in the first round for the WNBA. In 2002, the WNBA started their draft lottery, very similar to the NBA's draft lottery. Teams who missed the playoffs have the chance to get one of the 4 top picks in the next year's draft. The original lottery gave 4 teams with identically worse records from the 2001 season an equal chance to own the first overall pick. That year, the Seattle Storm won the first pick of the draft. The lottery itself is conducted by choosing multiple combinations of 4 ping pong balls, numbered 1 through 14 from a lottery machine. Out of all the possible combinations, 4 combinations are assigned. Each team in the lottery is assigned a combination, and through the drawing, that's how they will given the numbers 1 through 4 for the draft. The remaining 8 franchises are ordered from the worst to the best record. For example, Chicago had the 5th worst record in the league, so they earned the number 5 pick, while Las Vegas, who had the best record in the league, earned the number 12 pick. Teams can trade draft picks up until the day prior to the draft. Each season, the salary cap starts on January 1st and goes through January 31st of the same calendar year. The WNBA has a hard salary cap, the maximum allowed team salary, so there isn't any flexibility to go over the cap in any capacity outside of hardship exceptions granted to the team due to injury. Teams also have a salary cap floor where they can start the season under and be under throughout the season, but it needs to be met by the end of the season. So for initial free agency, this matters less. Extremely similar to the NBA, the WNBA will have its unrestricted free agents, a player that can enter into negotiations with any team during the free agency period without hindrance. A restricted free agent is a player with 4 years of service whose contract has expired and who receives a qualifying offer from their previous team. Following a year covered by a 4th-year option, a team can make a restricted qualifying offer to the player that's covered by the option anytime from January 11th to January 20th. If the team does not provide a qualifying offer, the player will be a free agent. So someone like Satu Sabali just completed her 4th year with the Dallas Wings. She did receive a qualifying offer on January 11th, making her a restricted free agent. If the Wings didn't offer her a contract, she will become an unrestricted free agent February 1st. Starting January 21st, restricted free agents can negotiate an offer sheet with a team other than their last team. However, that player's prior team has a right of first refusal, which basically just means they can match the offer. If the team matches the offer sheet, the player signs a contract with the original team on the terms agreed upon with the new team. So for a restricted free agent, as long as they give them a qualifying offer, they can match any other team's offer. So the WNBA can also core a player, similar to the way the NFL does a franchise tag. A team can core one veteran free agent. A core qualifying offer is a fully guaranteed one-year deal worth the supermax that both the unrestricted free agent and restricted free agents are eligible for. A core designation contract is a one-year deal on the maximum base salary available to players who have met the requirements of years spent with an organization. If a player receives a core designation, the team that designates them as such is the only team with which a player can sign or negotiate a contract during the free agency period. Lastly, the WNBA has reserved players. Any player with 3 years of service or fewer will become a reserved player if their previous team extends them a reserved qualifying offer anytime between January 11th and 20th, making them subject to the team's exclusive negotiating rights. If the team declines to offer the player a contract, they become an unrestricted free agent on February 1st. The WNBA still has a 12-player roster. They now play 40 games, 20 at home and 20 away during the regular season. The games are still 40 minutes long, but now they're broken up into 4 10-minute quarters with a 24-second shot clock. Players are now only given 5 fouls before the 6-1 fouls them out of the game. Each team gets one coach's challenge and is awarded a second challenge if the first one is successful. A team must have one timeout available in order to challenge a call. Teams get 5 timeouts and 1 reset timeout. A reset timeout, which can be used in the final 2 minutes of regulation or in overtime, allows a team to advance the ball and make substitutions but not huddle up. In the event of a tie score at the end of regulation, a game moves into 5-minute overtime periods. The size 6 basketball is used in women's basketball, namely WNBA and FIBA for women. It's the official size for women's basketball. It has a 28.5-inch circumference and weighs 20 ounces. The size 6 basketball has a 9-inch circumference, and apart from women's professional leagues, this is the size ball they use for boys high school basketball. The Commissioner's Cup is a tournament that divides the league up by conference and features a $500,000 prize pool for the players in the title game. The Commissioner's Cup begins in June with cup play, where each team plays the other 5 teams in the conference. The teams with the best records in their respective conferences in those 5 games advance to the championship game. This past year, it was the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx. Unlike the NBA's version, the tournament championship isn't played at a neutral site. Instead, the team with the superior record in the cup gets home court advantage. The championship is the only Commissioner's Cup game that doesn't count towards a team's regular season schedule or record. The WNBA playoffs feature a 3-round bracket format. In round 1, the matchups are seeded 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, and 4-5. First round series are best of 3 in a 2-1 format, where the higher seed hosts games 2 and 1. The semifinals and finals are best of 5 series with a 2-2-1 format, where the higher seed hosts games 1, 2, and 5. A championship and finals MVP is named, and the WNBA heads into the offseason. A lot of the early off seasons included announcing teams that were joining the league or teams that were folding. A few times in the early 2000s, we were getting announcements that teams were being added to the league or folding and leaving the league. You also needed dates for expansion drafts or dispersal drafts. This was pretty much a yearly occurrence in the early 2000s for the WNBA. This is Nancy Lieberman, nicknamed Lady Magic. She played in a WNBA game at 50 years old. On July 24, 2008, she signed a 7-day contract with the eventual champions, the Detroit Shock, breaking her own record as being the oldest player to play in a game at, 39? So that same day, the Shock played the Comets and she saw playing time. She recorded 2 assists in 9 minutes, but the Shock did lose the game. This would end up being her last game, as she was waived by the Shock the very next day. I don't know, but you gotta respect it, right? So there's your fun WNBA fact of the day. Thank you for watching. Leave any WNBA questions you have in the comments. You are appreciated, and I am wishing you the day that you deserve.